that sense of optimism, and as you said correctly, that's in the psalm, that's expressed in this psalm, and it's Ashrei Yoshvei Veisecha. We know that we are living in God's house. We're living on a spiritual plane at the same time as we are dealing with the physical world. We're dealing with destruction, and we're connecting to God. And since October 7th, there's been an incredible awakening of unity and optimism and spirituality in Israel at the same time as people are dying every day, even on our side and everybody. We're such a small people in such a small country that everyone's been to 5 to 10 funerals. It's everyone's children, everyone's grandchildren, nephews.
That was Rabbi Raphael Shore discussing the song She Is Building, which I wrote after being inspired by Psalm 84. I'm Shep Rosenman. This is The Rest is Commentary, where we discuss what songs inspired by the Psalms or Tehillim inspire in my guests. Shore is a rabbi, educator, and award-winning film producer. He is the founder and executive chairman of Open Door Media, a nonprofit educational company with a mission to strengthen the understanding and enduring personal connection of all young Jews and their peers to Judaism, Israel, and the Jewish people, and to address the challenges young Jews face today. His most recent documentary, Tragic Awakening, A New Look at the Oldest Hatred, is getting incredible reviews. Go to www.tragicawakening.com for more information. His latest book is Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Jew? It can be found wherever books are sold. He is passionate about the power of film to educate and inspire, and brings his talent and skills to all his endeavors, including leading Open Door Media in forward-thinking strategies. Rabbi Shore is also the founder of Clarion Project, a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating the public about the threats of Islamist extremism. You can find out more about Rabbi Shore at www.opendoor, that's D-O-R, media.org, and raphaelshore.com, that's Raphael with a P-H. Rabbi Shore and I will be talking about the daily challenges and pain of living in a war zone, responsibility on both sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the importance of empathy, education, optimism, and faith in achieving peace, the essentiality of listening to narratives on both sides, the impact of propaganda and brainwashing, the faith and historical resilience of the Jewish people, finding joy in the present even in the midst of difficulties, and so much more. Let's start off by listening to She Is Building. This is version 1. I'll include an alternate version at the end of the episode.
Early rain taps on the window. A swallow chitters outside. Looks around, it's in limbo. Perfectly still and dignified. To land for her children amidst the Jerusalem stone. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here. My heart returns to you anew. Happy to kids are my haven. They are my song. Even misbehaving, I love them all day long. 3 3 steps to the top of the ladder. Choose not to send her away. My heart was growing sadder. Think of my children at play. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here. My heart returns to you anew. Happy to be here. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here. My heart returns to you anew. Happy to be here.
So first of all, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you joining me, especially given that it's the end of your day already. It's 8 o'clock. Maybe you've had dinner, maybe not, but you're in the winding down hours.
Yep. The nature of my work is working with America. So nights are almost always work time for me. I take it slow in the mornings, do some learning, get up a little late, but evenings are always busy. So I feel very much in the middle of the day still.
Okay,
Fine,
great.
I'm
Well, then,
fine.
thank you for carving out time in the middle of your day. So I always start with one question, and that is, in the same way that I was inspired to write this song and connect it to Tehillim, or, sometimes it starts with Tehillim, sometimes the Psalms, sometimes it starts with just an idea that comes to me or a musical refrain that comes to me. And often it comes from this group that I participate in called Fearless Songwriting, where you write a song a day and hopefully in under an hour. This happens to be one of those. And I try to then combine that with Tehillim in some way. So again, this is one of those. So in the same way that I was inspired to write this, I offer this song to you in hopes that it inspires something in you. Love, loathing, hope, hatred, questions, commentary. So what, if anything, did it inspire in you?
I thought it was a wonderful song. Thank you for creating it. Thank you for producing it.
Thank you.
And it's, of course, you based it on a beautiful Kapitel Tehillim, a beautiful psalm. And so I loved it very much. It was a lot of things about it that I liked. I loved the happy. I loved the joy. It was a very happy song. And the verse in the Psalms is B'chabenu kaninu b'tziporim. So it means in the dissolution, in the destruction, the bird is finding, the sparrow is finding her home, her nest. And that, of course, is on one hand could be quite dark and, a little bit depressing. It's in the midst of the destruction, but it's uplifting because we're able to find a home even in the darkness. And of course, that it really expresses beautifully what's going on today in Israel and amongst the Jewish people, to be able to find a home, find a connection to God, even in these dark hours. And that you were able to create something very uplifting. Yeah, so I liked that it was upbeat. Libi b'sari ranenu al Hashem. My heart and my body are singing to Hashem. It's a beautiful psalm that you captured.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, for those, I don't know when people are going to get to listen to this. Do you want to say a little bit more about what's going on in this moment so that they have context when I finally release this?
Yes. I'm living in Jerusalem, in the heart of Jerusalem, and we're in the middle of a painful war, and there's a lot of pain on all sides. There's a lot of pain and destruction and hate and violence. And October 7th, there was the most horrendous terror attack that was experienced by anybody in the world. Even 9/11 was not as horrible, because although more people died, there was much less destruction and fear. It was like one moment everything exploded. Here there was a there was a day, several days, where people were being chased and raped and mutilated, and there was thousands of terrorists invading Israel. And it took a good few days before we were able to get our hands wrapped around being safe in our country from thousands of terrorists. And then since then, we've been fighting a war where people are dying every day. So it's a really it's a difficult thing to live in a war, and it's going on for a long time because Hamas dug itself in so deeply amongst the Palestinians that they built their entire military infrastructure under the civilian homes, in the mosques, in the schools, in the hospitals. So undoing that mess that they've built over 15 years is very, very difficult. And sadly, a lot of people are dying as we try to wipe out the terrorists.
Great. Thank you so much for that context. I think it's a really good summary. I was struck by, as an obsessive I cycle from obsessive reading and watching to eliminating to dieting. There are times where I just can't take it. I'm in Los Angeles. Actually, at the moment, I'm in Oxnard, California. So it's easy for me to just say, I know what's going on. Not going to read the news today unless I happen to see something that I have to read. And that usually happens through the WhatsApp groups and, friends and other things who say, did you hear? But you're in it every day. And I have a lot of questions about that. And some of it ties back to Tehillim, but I want to focus first on a phrase you use that I don't often hear coming from someone with your background and the work you do about anti-Semitism, about Islamist extremism. You said there's pain on all sides. What did you mean by that?
At the bottom line is God has created all human beings, and all human beings are created in Tselem Elokim, in God's image. And while I believe, and I'll explain in a moment, that the Palestinians as a society bear a lot of responsibility for the fact that this genocidal terror group is running their country, and therefore they're experiencing a lot of pain right now. At the same time, they're human beings, and it's horrible that they had to face this kind of society, and they were brainwashed from the time they were young to hate Jews, to hate America, and therefore they are about it. So that's pain before we even get to a war. The pain of Palestinians growing up in a dictatorship, in a society without freedom of speech, without legal rights, legal recourse, in a system where the radical Islamist agenda is forced upon them, the religious observance. And so even before we get to a war, it's a pretty miserable existence. And look, they're brainwashed. I'm going to go back to the responsibility. So I'm not coming from the perspective, to clarify. I feel empathy for the suffering of all human beings. At the same time, I'm not coming from the perspective that I think that all of Palestinian society is innocent except for the Hamas warriors. First of all, they elected Hamas. The Palestinian people elected Hamas in the one democratic election they had before they elected Hamas, so they don't have democracy anymore, but they chose Hamas, a majority. And even after October 7th, the polls, first of all, they celebrated October 7th. They passed out candy. They celebrated. Thousands of them joined in the terror attack. They were very proud. And the polls of the Palestinians, both in the West Bank and in Gaza, showed huge support and pride for what Hamas had done. And so I don't view it as this is an innocent society. I view that people are responsible in the same way that Germans were responsible for the Nazi government, even though it would have been difficult for them to remove the Nazi government. But overall, the German people were very happy with the Nazis as long as they were winning. And people ultimately bear responsibility for the people governing them, even if it's a difficult situation to remove. So I feel the pain. And the pain is on both sides. I feel there's certainly much more innocence in my mind than on the Jewish side and the Israel side. We offered them a state. We gave them In 2005, the entire Gaza Strip, we cleared out 15,000 Jews and people who were living there in peace and harmony. We gave them the economic means to make it. They could have made it a Riviera. They have beautiful beaches. They could have built industry. They could have held out their hand. We could have had a tremendous, beautiful, peaceful existence. And instead, they elected Hamas. And then they proceeded to continue brainwashing for hate and making an entire generation bloodthirsty in the Hamas genocidal agenda. And so it's a tragedy on every single level
Yeah.
of human perspective.
Yeah. I want to take it one step farther and connect this to the Tehillim. So you're articulating a both and, right? You're right. Because many of the people that I speak to on either side of the argument can't empathize with the suffering of the other. So, family members of mine, they don't care that there's death to Palestinians and that there's homelessness and, loss of location, loss of safety, that there's injury. They just don't care because all they see is they started this, they're the enemy, end of story. The consequences don't really matter. And similarly, as I've shared with you in a different song I shared with you, when you encounter people who are only seeing the Palestinian side of the argument, all they see is the Palestinian side of the argument. They don't care about the history. They don't care that Hamas started this particular sequence of events on October 7th and that there was a ceasefire on October 6th. Like, it's irrelevant to them. Yet here you are, someone who's been doing work against extremists for many, many years, and also simultaneously showing the beauty of Israel and of Judaism. So on some level, you've become I don't know if you would self-describe this, but you're at neither side of, even though you have a strong perspective that's on one side of the argument, you end up being a centrist simply by acknowledging the pain of the other. And I think that's also what's going on in this particular Tehillim. It reminds me of the Midrash. I forget, it's Rabbi Akiva and somebody else. They come upon the ruins of the temple, and whoever else it was is weeping over the fact that they see a fox going through the ruins of the temple, how low we've come. And Rabbi Akiva is laughing because it's bringing him joy that a prophecy of the temple being rebuilt based on foxes being in the area will come. And I think that Midrash holds the duality, as does this Tehillim, which talks about, well, as you said, this bird being in the context of this destroyed arena. How do you respond to this potential labeling as someone who is a centrist simply by understanding both sides of the argument?
It's been a long time since I've been called a centrist, so I'm enjoying it. Some people in my organization will be very happy to hear that. The fact is, though, that I believe that you are correct. And I think it's a product of my Torah education, and I strive to it. It's a difficult level to reach, but I strive to live on the neshama level wherever possible and the soul level. And when you're dealing with the soul level, you can feel compassion for pain on any side. So in other words, I can hold both ideas, as you're saying. They might appear somewhat contradictory, but I can hold the idea that on the one hand, there's tremendous pain, and at the same time, there is responsibility, moral responsibility and guilt, and you have to take care of evil in your midst.
Right.
Like that story that you shared, Rabbi Akiva knew that there was a prophecy that said that foxes will go through the destroyed temple in Jerusalem. And so when he saw the fox going through the temple, he said he was overjoyed because although he's crying over the destruction, he said, just like that prophecy was fulfilled, so also will the prophecies about the Jewish people coming back and rebuilding Israel. And it took 2,000 years for the Jewish people to come back and rebuild. And I think that sense of optimism, And as you said correctly, that's in the psalm, that's expressed in this psalm, and it's Ashrei Yoshvei Veisecha. We know that we are living in God's house. We're living on a spiritual plane at the same time as we are dealing with the physical world. We're dealing with destruction and we're connecting to God. And in this, since October 7th, there's been an incredible awakening of unity and optimism and spirituality in Israel at the same time as people are dying every day, even on our side and everybody. We're such a small people in such a small country that everyone's been to 5 to 10 funerals.
Yeah.
It's everyone's children, everyone's grandchildren, nephews. So that's how I would characterize what you're saying. I'll just add one more thing also. In addition to doing the work with the educating people about radical Islam, I've started this organization, Open Door Media, which on social media it's called Unpacked, and there we really strive to be centrist, like you described, to share, to empathize with the pain on both sides, to understand the story of both sides, the narrative of both sides. We come out very strongly pro-Israel because we believe that justice and logic is on our side. But we know that to be effective today, to be effective in education with the world, with young Jews and with everyone in the greater world, you have to be able to share the full expression of both sides' experience and empathize. Otherwise, you're not going to be credible and people are not going to hear your message. Young people are not going to hear your message. So I guess I've been educated through my organization's desire to get that right.
Well, I also think that it goes back to your notion of taking responsibility. You've articulated that the Palestinian people, as a people, need to take some responsibility for electing a genocidal terrorist government. Now, I suspect that, I don't suspect, it's possible that, they simply heard, we're going to clean up the garbage and we're going to get you health care and we're going to make sure you're fed. And they didn't focus on the fact that in Hamas's original charter, there was an express sentiment of genocidal intent towards Jews and Israelis. And Hamas has since modified their charter to make that more subtle. It's still there, but it's more subtle. And that's because, once we're acknowledging realities, they're masterful engineers. They built a 300 How many miles are under the city in tunnels? That's a massive architectural feat, an engineering feat.
The larger metro than the London Underground and the New York subway system.
It's wild, honestly. It's also, to me, and now, my personal politics are coming out, why would you do that over feeding your people and building the resort and creating joy? But that ties back to the extremist genocidal notions of this particular Hamas group. As I understand it, they're part of or connected to the Islamic Brotherhood, and that becomes a much bigger conversation about, well, what does it mean for not only for Jews, but for the West in its entirety? Oh, you also have to give them credit for being amazing at marketing and advertising. Honestly, they're doing a much better job than we are. Their philosophies have been adopted in Western academia and in populations that shouldn't care one whit about the Palestinian community, if only because the people and populations who are now caring about them are people who would be thrown off rooftops if they were living in Palestine. They would not have the rights that they have in the United States, and yet they're seen as the underdog. So again, giving credit where credit is due, they've gotten really good at it. And we're pretty smart, why do you think there was such a massive failure on the Israel and Jewish part on this, especially because I saw one of your earliest documentaries on this topic, and it was in the early to mid 2000s. You at least, and therefore at least 25 million others, I think one of your movies hit 25 million views or something like that. You and 25 million others have known about this for 18 years. Why? How did we fail so badly?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's one answer that sums up, deals with a lot of what you're asking. Someone was asking me recently why, how was it that I was prescient? How did I see it coming? Because in addition to the films about radical Islam when people were sleeping, I also made 3 films about the campus anti-Semitism. Every time I made a film about campus anti-Semitism, mainstream Jewish world accused me of being right. That's how I became right wing, by the way, because every time I made a film alerting people, they said I'm right wing because I'm exaggerating the problem. I said, I'm not. I'm just telling you what's being said. I don't feel it's not a right wing issue. But I would make one of those films called Crossing the Line 1, Crossing the Line 2, and about how the Intifada came to campus and the new face of anti-Semitism, how anti-Zionism was crossing the line to anti-Semitism. I'd make these films. The Jewish world establishment would say I'm exaggerating the problem overall. And 6 months later, I had to make a new film because everyone understood it was as I described, but the fact was that it was actually much worse. So I had to make a new film because it was much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to keep up. So the answer to your question is very simple. I wasn't prescient. I wasn't a genius. I'm not a prophet. I was just listening. I was just simply listening. They were saying it. My first film that I made was showing Arafat for the two-faced terrorist that he was, while the Israeli leadership was peddling Arafat as the new peacemaker, while he was receiving a Nobel Prize. The world was feting him, and everyone was believing and wanted to believe. And that's the key. Everyone wanted to believe that they had
Right.
changed their stripes and that they wanted peace and they were like us. And they weren't. They were speaking in one tongue in English and another tongue in Arabic to their own people, and they were saying it clear, hey folks, this is just a strategy. We're still determined to wipe out the Jewish people. We're still genocidal. And I mean the PA as well as Hamas. And then they also obfuscated PLO also obfuscated their charter to pretend that they're changed, but they didn't really. And so the fundamental mistake was not respecting the Palestinians and the Arab world enough to believe what they said, and instead disrespecting them and putting our own values and our own ideas on their mentality. And they have different values. It's the Middle East, as Moshe Aaron said once when I heard him speak, the Middle East is not the Middle West. We want to think that everybody's like us. Like you said in the beginning of your question, Shep, you said you don't understand, why did they build tunnels instead of doing something for their people and taking care of their people? Well, because they have different values. That's the answer. They have different values. They're not Western people who are working with the same set of values. So now we can either delude ourselves or we can face reality. And that's why October 7th happened. That's why we messed up with the Oslo process. That's why most of the world is still messing up, because we want to believe they're just like us.
Right. So let me ask you a question, and this comes from a place of curiosity. We, both of us, have been using the collective they as if all Palestinians have the same views. And in the same breath, I know, for example, at our shul this Shabbat, we're having standing together come and talk to us. And a few weeks ago, I heard a very inspiring talk by, I forget who the rabbi was. I think it might have been Hanan Schlesinger, and Abu Awad, I think is his name, from Roots. So these are examples of people who don't seem, on both sides, who don't seem to fit the model of this being a binary, Jews or Palestinians. Would you ever sit down with people from those communities or organizations, A, and B, do you think that they fit these individuals and organizations fit the they that we've been talking about? Are they exceptions, or is there enough meat on the bone there? I apologize to the vegetarians among us, to actually start building something with people like that and perhaps create change from within?
First of all, of course, to answer your first question, I would sit down with anybody, and especially well-meaning, good-hearted Palestinians who would like to see peace. And I believe there are some. I believe that there's not many. Mm-hmm. And I believe one of the reasons there's not many is because they've been brainwashed. so effectively over the course of the last 35 years. And when I say brainwashed, I mean every mechanism of the society since 1993 has been used to inculcate violence and terror and hatred of Jews and to delegitimize the Jewish presence in Israel, to erase the history of Jews in Israel. And so they're all convinced that Israel stole their land. Israel was never here. The Jewish people were never here. We're violent. We're horrible. We're going to come out and murder them all. And this, when I say all the vehicles of the state, in other words, the education system, the teachers, and that's why they elect Hamas, and that's why they cheer these things. So the great majority, unfortunately, whether they support Hamas or whether they support the Palestinian Authority, the great majority are unfortunately not looking for peace. Whereas in our society, in the Jewish society, if we could really believe that there would be peace and there is a partner for peace on the other side, you would have 80 to 90% of Israelis support giving back the entire West Bank and half of Jerusalem tomorrow,
Right.
in order to make peace. We gave back the Gaza Strip without any promise for making peace. So it's a very different thing. And the second point that I think is very important to make, you asked, is this something that we can build on, these relationships that we can build on to maybe make a better future? And the answer is no. The answer is no, and I'll explain it. On the one hand, I completely support these kind of initiatives, and the more we can build bridges and talk and relate to each other, I'm all for it. It's good. These are all good initiatives. On the other hand, imagine yourself in Nazi Germany, and you have 1% of the society that's, pro-peace and wants to have peace with the British. Are they going to change Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime? No, it's a dictatorship. In a dictatorship, it doesn't work like a democracy. So these people, and especially in a ruthless, genocidal, violent dictatorship that is governed by a radical Islamic perspective, it doesn't matter if a very small, tiny percentage are peace-loving people. They are irrelevant. They are completely irrelevant. In Israel, such a group would be not relevant, would be yes relevant, because it's a democracy. So maybe maybe they'll get 10 seats in next year's parliament, and then they'll have a lot of influence. But in a dictatorship, if they start to get any influence, they'll just be killed.
Is there a solution, or is this intractable? Because
the solution is to ensure that the Palestinian society is educated with the values of loving humanity, recognizing the other, learning true history instead of false history, learning to love people instead of hate people. And if the countries of the world, especially in the West, that have been pouring money into the Palestinian society for the last 30 years, the entire existence, would just insist that the education system be changed, and that the incitement that happens on every level of society, from education to the mosques, to the politicians, to the hero worship of terrorists, to the pay for slay, if we just insist that all the incitement and all the education would go away, and the world can insist on that very quickly by stopping to fund them unless they've satisfied these criteria. If they would do that, then all we need to do, you wanted the solution. That doesn't create the solution. That creates the basis for a solution. Then you have to wait a generation. Educate the entire generation, because right now you have an entire generation that wants to kill us, and in order for that to be reversed, there's a generation worth of damage that needs to be cleaned up. That's the solution. And the problem, so there is a clear solution. The problem is people don't want to go in that direction, and they're not insisting on it. And so the real serious problem comes when everyone reverts back to their naivete and wants to, again, put our values on them, thinks if we just create a ceasefire, everything will be fine. Well, Hamas already said that they're going to do it again. So how does that create long-term peace?
Right. I want to shift our focus for a minute, not because there's not more to talk about. On the contrary, I can go on for hours on this topic with you, but I want to focus on a couple of things. So you articulated that you're an optimist. Where does your optimism come from?
My optimism comes from your song. It comes from the Torah. It comes from the Jewish people's history. It
Mm-hmm.
comes from look, Ashrei Yosrei Veisecha, Od Yalu Chasela, where Libi Ubesari Yanenu. My heart and my flesh sing to God. It also says Kitov Yom B'Chatzecha, one day in your chatzer, in your translate chatzer
Courtyard.
courtyard, in your courtyard is greater than 100 and 1,000 days another in something else. So we have a very wonderful, like Rabbi Akiva, we have a wonderful, all the prophecies have come true. We have a narrative. God gave us a narrative, a plot line that our
Mm-hmm.
history would follow. It was all laid out 3,300 years ago. And here we are towards the end, according to our tradition. We're heading towards the end. The end is the prophecy of Jewish people being gathered in from the four corners of the earth of the exile after 2,000 years of persecution. It's unbelievable. And the land that was desolate and empty, which it was not a Palestinian state before. It was desolate and empty, even though there was many Arabs and Jews living here. And it's gone green again, just like the prophecy said. So, like Rabbi Akiva, I'm reading the prophecies. It's like, this is going to work out great. It's painful. It's a painful journey, but I know where this is going. And,
Right.
People might die in the process, and even fighting evil brings light into the world, and we're making the world a better place. Even not only because we're the startup nation and the sustainable nation, but because we're fighting evil. We're doing a favor for the rest of the world too. So the Jewish people are filled with resilience and hope and optimism because we have a narrative that has been fulfilled. And so we see. So that's why I gain tremendous strength and happiness, like your song expresses, because even in our current situation, "B'charbeinu kanenu zbo tziporim,"
Mm-hmm.
in
Right.
desolation, we still have our home. I'm living here in the old city of Jerusalem. It's unbelievable. 2,000 years of Jews were praying to come back, and here I am in a beautiful place filled with vibrancy and love, even as the war goes on.
Right.
Anybody with a minimal amount of knowledge can gain a lot of trust that, despite the fact that we've gone through a lot as a people, despite the fact that evil persists, anti-Semitism persists, but we're heading in a good direction, and we
Mm-hmm.
have reason to connect the dots going backwards. And like Rabbi Akiva, and like you started to talk about at the beginning of this podcast, we can laugh and have
Yeah.
joy because this is going to work out very
Yeah.
well.
That's
Everybody.
beautiful. That's beautiful. It also reminds me of my sister who often uses the phrase "Gamzu Latova." This too will
Right.
become something good. And look, as someone who has been in and out of observance and in and out of observant Orthodox communities, like it's very easy for me to kind of click into that worldview. And it's also very easy for me to understand because a lot of the people around me just like they can't click into that worldview. But what they can click into is the idea that, okay, something stinks right now, but you will learn from it, and therefore you have the opportunity to grow if you choose. And in that way, Gamzu Latova. Not so much the mystical divine way that my sister means it. She's near you. She's in Ramat Shlomo, and her name is Frady, and she is Haredi. Therefore, she's Haredi Frady. So, it's all of a piece. But like, I've spent my life being an edger. Like, I'm in a lot of communities. I'm an intersector. I'm a connector. That's what I do, and it's how I kind of view the world. My faith undulates. It's not, it doesn't waver in the sense that I lose faith, but how it manifests, how it operates is what changes. And I think that allows me to talk to all sorts of people and kind of experience the world from their perspective. So it's very interesting to have this particular conversation with you. And, I love that you found the joy in this particular song. And I also love that you found the joy, not the joy isn't the right word, but that you were able to appreciate the other song I sent you. This is kind of a super light, joyful, acoustic, folky tune. And the other song I sent you is deep, heavy metal. And you were able to appreciate both. Some people can't handle one or the other. So this, again, emphasizes your ability to hold the duality.
Yes, indeed. And also by the nature of the work that I do, I've had I consider it a blessing, but I'm with people, the people who support my work and the organizations that I've founded obviously are from all different perspectives. Even the pro-Israel work, the Democrats and Republicans are pro-Israel and they want to see good things happen and for the sake of the Jewish people. So I'm constantly dealing with people, I'm dealing with the Trump lovers and the Trump haters, and you gotta go with the flow. And I understand everyone's got points of view, and everybody's good. Everybody's good. Everybody wants good, and they come with different sets of principles, different information. But so the same thing with the music. I love many, many different genres of music.
Amazing. Well, is there anything else that you want to cover? Because we've been at this for about an hour.
So God willing, we will see a brighter future. We're going through a difficult patch. We've gone through many difficult patches, but I just get such strength from our people. We're an amazing people, and it's just wonderful to be a part of it and to be living in God's land. And God willing, we'll have peace, and everybody in the entire planet will live without evil and without violence in the coming days.
That's beautiful. Amen, amen, amen. Rabbi Shore, thank you so, so much for kind of sitting and spending an hour and chatting with me. I look forward to having some more conversations with you.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening. Special thanks to Rabbi Shore for joining me, to Devin Schwartz and E. Rose for their help in producing this episode, and to Jessica Chana Swedler for her help on social media. You can find She Is Building, both versions, and all of the other songs in this song cycle on most platforms that stream or download music, including Spotify and Apple. In the next episode of The Rest is Commentary, I will be talking with my cousin, writer and educator Rachel Kogel. We discuss breaking glass and repairing what's broken, the simple profundity of how we treat each other, how every action, no matter how small, ripples outward to shape life, exploring God, unlearning negative patterns from childhood, being truly present, grounding amidst life's chaos, whether actions taken out of fear create sustainable results, and so much more, all inspired by Rachel's thoughts after listening to You Are Here, inspired by Psalm 9, and written by Liz Hanlon and me. Please join us.
Early rain taps on the window. A swallow chitters outside. Looks around, it's in limbo. Perfectly still and dignified. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here. My heart returns to you anew. Happy to be here. Twigs in her mouth, she is building a garden of Eden, her home. Soft place to land for her children amidst the Jerusalem stone. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here. My heart returns to you anew. Happy to be here. My kids are my haven. They are my song. Even misbehaving, I love them all day long. 3 steps to the top of the ladder. I choose not to send her away. My heart's growing sadder. I think of my children at play. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here. My heart returns to you anew. Happy to be here. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here. My heart returns to you anew. Happy to be